So, so, and you've worked for the Department of the Navy for a long time as a
Yep.
program manager, good living, good job, stuff like that. But you and I had a little conversation on the Zoom a couple weeks ago about white privilege. If you remember the story you told to me about the time then, because, and I'll come back to some other points after that, but you know, some people say white privilege is, oh well, if your skin is white, you automatically have all these advantages over other people. And I said to you, what does it mean to you? And then you told me a story.
And I gave an example, the
Yeah.
story about my job, and it was a friend of mine, and me and him were good friends. His name was TK, he's a white guy, and we were the same age, and we were coming in at the same time. He had just started there probably about maybe 3 or 4 months before I did. And at the time, I was finishing up at Salisbury, so I came in. I didn't know what he was making yet or anything. I just know we were friendly, both computer programmers at the time, and I was told that I had to. I'd already been working there as an intern, so they accounted into my background. But then all of a sudden, I was told that I had to take some tests to see where I would line up at as far as my grade scale goes. So at the time, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's normal. You know what I'm saying? You know, still got let me see what happens. So I took the test and I graded in at a certain level, but then they still bumped me back 2 levels back, right? So in a conversation with him at lunch one day, because again we were friends, you know, I started talking about it. And he was like, I told him, he said, "For real, you had to do that?" So I'm looking kind of funny, like, what you didn't? And he was like, "No, they just hired me and put me in GS11, started me at GS5."
What was the pay difference between these two?
Oh, big difference, big difference. At that time, I think GS5 was 24,000 a year, and 11 was like almost 50. So it's about 25,000.
So they almost double the pay,
Almost double the pay.
and he didn't have to take
He
the
didn't
test.
have to take the test, and he didn't even finish graduate. He didn't even have a degree at the time. He didn't even graduate.
So he didn't even finish his 4-year bachelor's degree. You had your
I
degree.
had my degree.
So let's recap, folks. Had a degree, had to take tests, got slotted in 6 levels behind the guy that didn't have a degree, didn't have to take tests.
Exactly. Yep.
And how angry were you?
I was very angry. I was very angry because
I would be too.
in my mind, I'm like, first of all, you told me I had to take the test, and I graded here, so I should have been there, and you still put me back, put me back a level. Then the fact that I had a degree, and I've always been told, go get your degree, you'll be taken care of when you get to where you're going. And not only that, I had already put in a year and a half with the company, so they knew me. So I right then and there, I knew it wasn't a decision like a government process type thing. I knew it was something else.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like highly upset.
I don't blame you. I'm upset for you. And then so people who want to talk down that anger amongst some people in the black community about that. How would you feel if it happened to you?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be pissed.
Right.
I'd straight up walk out.
Mm-hmm.
I said, screw you.
Mm-hmm.
Not working. That's how it works.
Right.
Because then to broaden it out is to me that's a kind of oppression.
Mm-hmm.
You're being stepped on because of no doubt how you look.
How I look. Mm-hmm.
But then what I want people to understand too is it's not just a black thing.
It's not.
It's a wealth thing.
Exactly.
It's a power thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because growing up, and as I described where I came from,
Mm-hmm.
I was a poor white kid. Parents worked really hard
Exactly.
to provide a basic home and meals and stuff like that. But there were no invitations showing up on my doorstep for my family to come to the country club either.
Right.
I mean, you're welcome to come over and be a waiter
Exactly.
or that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And to me, it comes down to degrees of oppression.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%.
I mean, the people who are in power, and we may have to hold another podcast on those people because I'll be angry doing that one.
Right.
They're stepping on everybody.
They are.
They're stepping on other people that are the same color as them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get this out right now so nobody gets too angry. We're not even going to have an argument or a discussion about whether or not the African Americans that were brought to this country as slaves and their descendants were crapped on way harder than the white people. Absolutely. There's not even a debate. People from where I'm from, Scots, Irish, English descent, a lot of us got shipped over here rather than go to jail over there.
Right.
For people who don't know their history, in Ireland in the 1840s during the potato famine, you know, people were arrested as criminals and shipped off to Botany Bay, Australia, and never to be seen again by their families simply for like stealing corn to try to keep their kids from starving.
Right.
So yes, white people shit on other white people.
Right.
They do in a big way, and even more recent times. And you can have the same discussion about how migrant workers and immigrants are treated in this country to this day. And I may come back and take a quick detour into that. But African Americans were enslaved, and even after slavery ended, state and local government officials still did things to keep them from being free and have an opportunity and all that kind of stuff. And we won't even get into the depths of, you know, the genocide committed on American Indians.
Right.
So let's just say that certain people in positions of power and wealth have used that to step on pretty much everybody who didn't have the same power and wealth for a long, long period of time.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind me taking a quick 2-minute side trip.
Oh, no.
When I was in first grade, I mean, living in rural Pennsylvania, there were 2 Hispanic girls that lived in a trailer on a farm, a quarter mile off the road. They came, they would magically show up, like late in the summer, and they would go to school with us for the first half of the year, and by Thanksgiving or something, the family disappeared. They're gone.
That was every year?
Every year. Up until about 3rd or 4th grade. And they were coming and going with the crops. They would move other places. Their father basically was a migrant worker. So I saw them in 1st grade, saw them in 2nd grade, all the way to 4th grade, and by 5th grade they weren't coming back anymore. They were living somewhere else.
Right.
So I'm 60 years old. So I'm telling you that your government has been failing to deal with the immigration problem for my entire life.
Right.
And that we have a whole class, mostly of Latino, you know, Central American and Mexican workers, who are basically living in indentured servitude in our country today. And you have to ask yourself, whether it's Republican or Democrat, whoever's in charge, why have we not been able to come up with an immigration policy that treats these people like human beings and recognizes their economic impact on our country? Because it doesn't suit the people in power. And don't be fooled by the Democratic and the Republican labels. There's people who are rich and powerful, and there are people that ain't.
Well, yeah. Because even with that, too, I think we had something before. Because I said to you that it's very interesting how I mean you had the same views. Because again, I have a lot of these type of conversations with my son, to where it's funny because he was talking about doing a podcast sometimes, and we've been like writing down like topics and stuff. But we can bring those topics here, and he can come sit in and we can have, because a lot of the stuff you say, I'll go to him, and I won't even say anything about you yet, right? I'll just be like talking to him, we'll be talking, and I'll be like, oh, so let me ask you this, what do you think if this, or this, and I'll see what you say, right? He said, that's what I've been trying to tell you the whole time, Dad. And I said, well, guess who said that to me? And then he'd be like, oh, and I tell him you. And then, so now I've been saying that to him a lot. He's starting to be like, well, maybe I need to meet him.
And then, isn't it amazing when your kids grow up how dumb you are? Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, all of a sudden you're the dummy. You know what I'm saying? Right.
So we're going to do an episode of this where your son and my son is sitting here. We're going to turn those two loose.
Let them talk.
Because like we talked last time, and people want to make it about race or make it about gender, or whether you're gay or straight or whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever it is. I think everybody starts at every day you wake up, you got to survive. You don't think about it, but job number one every day is just keep yourself alive.
It is.
And then try to build to the place where you're enjoying your life and doing things you want to do. But I said to you last time, it's like we keep saying, oh, we're gonna make this change. We're gonna elect this person. It's gonna be better. No, we're gonna elect that person. It's gonna be better. This party's in charge. It's gonna be better. It's like everybody thinks there's a finish line. Like we're gonna get to this place and go, everything's gonna be perfect and equal and just and fair, and then the world's gonna be perfect. Never gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I said to you, human relations like the weather.
Oh, yeah.
It's a never-ending series of pressures. And sometimes when all the different components are putting their pressure against each other, you have some stormy days.
Right.
You have some violence. You have some unrest. And then when the weather clears, you have some nice days. But the bottom line is, if you don't push, you're not applying your pressure to that equation, then you get blown away.
Exactly.
And it's almost like now that we've reached a point where there's a certain segment of society that has the ability to put on more pressure than the rest of society put together. And there's like this spreading hopelessness. And we've then taken the hopeless masses and allowed the people who are running the media and everything to build walls between us. Lester, you're the cause of Rick's pain. Rick's the cause of your pain. Hate each other.
And
Thoughts on that?
And to keep us keep that wall up so that we can come together as one to say, hold on, no, we're not the problem, you're the problem. Right? And again, what made me bring my son up was because of just exactly that, because he's like, in his mind, he's like, he says the same thing, Democrat, Republicans, whatever you want to call it, he says it's like all of them do enough or say what they want you to hear to get in position. Then when they get in there, they may do some of it, but those walls that you talked about, he said they still stay there, just to keep us
So
against
they,
each other.
and I say this to a lot of people, people don't want to hear it, it's our fault. We allow ourselves to be bought.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I told you this when we talked a couple weeks ago, but Pew Research does polls all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they got one of their polls, basically, for the first year or so after 9/11, Congress had a high approval rating. For like the last 18 years in a row, the highest, Congress's approval rating hovers between 15 and 25%. People think they're doing a good job. So 3/4 or more of the public says, Congress is not doing a good job.
Doing it right.
But at the same time, 60+% of people think that their congressperson and their senator
Right.
are doing a good job.
Right.
And this goes to what you just said more about, they give you enough.
Right.
So they come back and they make a big show of, look at the money I brought back to the district. We're gonna get these streets paved. We're gonna build a new park. We're gonna do this. And you guys really wanted this thing, so we got the money for that. And everybody goes, my guy or lady, they're good.
Right.
Why do you have so many problems in the country? Everybody else, those people are out there.
Right.
So they've got it set up to buy us.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And tell people, you know why we have such a huge deficit? Because no elected representative can come home and stand in front of their constituency and say, well, you had more taxes taken out of you than I brought money back to you. They all have to be able to go home and say, you were taxed 10 whatever,
Right.
but I brought you back 12.
Right.
And the only way to do that is to deficit spend.
That's it.
So ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
the debt is only going to grow and grow and grow and grow.
Yep.
But these people are playing you. They are straight up playing you.
Yep.